spoke with a civil sustainable engineer.
Hi, I'm Wyatt, and I spoke with an electrical engineer.
Hi, my name is Raha, and I spoke with a civil engineer. Hi, I'm Kiana Michelle, and I spoke with a civil structural engineer. I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching. If it were up to me, I'd make this whole place a forest again to save my poor brethren. But it is up to you. You're a boss. Yeah, but your boss has bosses. If we're going to be making a water-efficient plant, we need to ensure there's as little environmental impact as possible. Kiana, you check for the chemicals. Raha, you go. So, anything a chemical engineer can do. Do whatever we hired you to do.
What are some careers you can do with the field of electrical engineering in the Army?
The Army is going to find a way to use you regardless, and they're going to try to maximize the impact that you have. If your passions lead you down like programming, don't be afraid of doing computer engineering.
What are some degrees and certifications that would be helpful for electrical engineering?
The PE license is one of those. There's the LED certification that you could go for. You could go for a master's.
What are some critical skills you need to have for becoming an electrical engineer?
So like just following instructions. Resourcefulness is huge. I was in between like two generations where I could see the younger generation, they had all these resources, but they didn't know how to use them. And I grew up as the internet was like being formed. So I could see a difference in that. So one of my mentors really early on told me about the 8,000 hour rule. After 8,000 hours of doing the same thing and working hard at something, you kind of start understanding the full depth of what you're doing in that discipline. And that's 4 years.
Hear that. Thank you for your time. Okay, so what would the timeline look like for someone in electrical engineering?
It depends on where you're going. Take the FE exam, and then you train under a mentor. And after 5 or 6 years, you take the PE exam, and then you kind of make the next step up until you're like a manager within a department.
You know, one time LeBron James said the fastest way to get there is by being slow. I knew I was onto something. Thank you. No, that's not what I mean. Finally, you know, since you're done, I might as well take the honor of first sip.
What was your experience as a student like? Because it seems like you've spent a lot of time in school as well.
When you're in school, your professors tell you, enjoy it now. You may not believe me when I tell you this, but these are the best years of your life, and they're right. They are the best years of your life. You have a lot less to worry about. You know, I mean, yeah, maybe you got an exam on Thursday, but you know, compared to the 10 different things you wind up juggling once you go out into the profession.
All right. And then what are some common struggles you see with students that are majoring in engineering?
You don't know if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you know, you could probably make more money selling shoes in time allocating their time. You know, you have to distinguish between what's important and what's urgent. Particularly if you want to have free time to do whatever your other hobbies are. Don't be afraid to ask questions. My classmates would come up to me and say, I'm really glad you asked that question. You know, I didn't understand that either. And I said, well, why didn't you ask? And he goes, because I didn't want to sound stupid. Well, you know.
So what made you decide to go back to teaching?
When I was finishing up in graduate school, there was an announcement on the board that Stanford was looking for an assistant professor, and I ignored it. And my advisor called it to my attention. He said, why don't you apply for the job? And he said to me, well, you know, it costs 24 cents to put a stamp on a letter. Once you're offered a job at Stanford, you don't say no. I had to leave Stanford because I wasn't going to get tenure. And I decided it was time to do the things I became an engineer to do. You know, when I first started teaching, I was good at the theoretical stuff, but not necessarily the practice stuff. When I went back to teaching after being in practice, one of the students would say, that's not what the book says. And I would say, well, I don't care what the book says.
I really do appreciate your time today.
You're welcome.
You said you could give me a little bit of creative liberty. There's magnesium, vitamin D, Kool-Aid. I said to do what you were hired to do. Back to work then.
What do you think are critical skills that you should have as an industrial engineer? good communication skills. I mean, in this world, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with all different types of people. I'm a big proponent of the professional engineer license. I put it this way, if you go to medical school, you know, you're gonna have to take the medical exam, the board exam to be a doctor. And then the other skill I think it's really important is networking. Doing networking is really critical that you can, go to local events.
I think that addresses another question that I had of like misconceptions about engineering. So a lot of the time people can think it's like a more nerdy profession, I guess, where you can just do the work and stay away from people. But if you want like actual opportunities, like you're right now you were elected as a distinguished member. So all these opportunities obviously like came from people around you with your hard work, right?
Yeah, you can't sit in your office and just go to work and come back and not engage like professionally.
In terms of that, have you ever been through any like internships or anything like that that have helped you gain opportunities?
Everybody who takes a construction engineering degree has to do 2 internships before they can even graduate. Looking at what I was interested in too, you don't know. Like I thought I wanted to be a structural engineer. I did some internships and I found that I like construction.
What special opportunities do you think you were given from a professional society that you might not have been able to be given from like an internship, from school, from other forms of networking?
Contacts. You get to meet people from all walks of life. And so you'll meet, young engineers, you'll meet older engineers. You get some great mentorship because there's people there that can help you, plus gives you exposure. And they're not going to come after you unless you have exposure. All right.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tell me a little bit about like what inspired you to become an engineer in the first place.
Sure. The structural engineering, I think, was more just, I'm very much more of like a physical, need to see things learner, a visual learner, I guess.
What advice would you have for young girls who are interested in STEM but are hesitant?
So a lot of it is just going to be kind of mentally preparing yourself and finding that support system, just so you feel like you have a network of people there.
There are some times when guys would, bring me down and not give me recognition for the
Yeah.
that I've done. So have you ever faced a stereotype for women in that way, or?
I could say I've probably been in situations where maybe I've been slightly overlooked in terms of like what I was saying, right, in a meeting. And I think stand up for yourself in a respectful way, right? There are obviously ways to do that, but it takes confidence.
Let's lean into the more positive things. What is the most rewarding part of being a woman in STEM?
I think there's 2 things. Been seeing more and more women in the group is really neat. The other side is just bringing a different perspective to things.
One last question. How did you stay balanced as a student in engineering?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was finding the group of people that I kind of felt comfortable with. For me, that was the engineering club in school called Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, or SHIP for short. So just finding that group of people that understood. I'm like, hey, I got to study today. And they're like, oh, we also have that exam.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Any way I can help.
They never let me talk. I'm consistently having to prove my work just because I'm the minority. I just don't know what to do. Model those tiers, energy conservation. And then, wait, hold on. You look familiar. Do I know you? Your hair is, like, you look real familiar. Is that beard real? Just, yeah. He tries to kill me.